Hello everyone, welcome back to Let's Play Museum Madness, and in the last episode we got through our first couple of exhibits. In this episode we're going on to our next couple of exhibits. Now, I could go over onto this area of the museum, but I'm going to want to continue on with the science portion because I figure we'll get these in, then we'll start with these ones, and then we'll do the history ones last because those are the ones most like our traditional adventure game, and those are going to be the easiest ones for me to comment over. So we'll go ahead and do this one, computer technology. This one is actually ridiculously easy, so we'll be able to get through this one pretty quickly. It does have some pretty rad music though. So let's ask Mick what's up here. It's part of the museum's main computer. We have to repair its circuits. Now see, this exhibit will illustrate the main problem with any game that covers computer technology specifically, especially one from the 90s, because all of this is, I wouldn't call it outdated, it's just that we have things that do this for us now, that we don't have to actually go in and physically flip switches to reset or reprogram a circuit board. Yeah. So basically we're going to be reprogramming these circuits through binary. The circuit is working correctly. The red numbers below the gates should match the blue numbers shown below them. This is actually ridiculously easy. If you understand binary, I'm sure it's even easier than the way I look at it, but think of it this way. Even if you don't know the basics about binary, you know that there's only two digits that you can have, only two values you can have in binary, 1 and a 0. This means that there's only two possibilities for every value, and all you have to do is change one value each time you try it and figure out whether or not that worked. It's ridiculously easy. See, and they even tried to slip in explanations of how binary works in the text itself, but again, you can very easily solve this puzzle just by trial and error, which I will not be ashamed to admit that I did the first time that I did this. The next RoboKid movie. I wonder if that's a riff on RoboCop. I sure hope not, because that's a reference that I highly doubt that any of the kids of the 90s that watched this would have gotten, at least not in this age range. And if they did get it, they wouldn't have been playing this game anyway, so. See what I mean? And they even call it computer programming, but again, no computer has had the need to manually flip switches to provide binary values to the system's motherboard since the early 90s. So yeah, this is a outdated puzzle to say the least. And then all we have to do to go to the next circuit board is to click on the computer again, and it will take us to the next circuit. Again, this would be a lot more complicated if they didn't provide you with just two values. So literally all you have to do is try one, hit start, see what comes out, and if it works, good. If it's not, switch something and try it again. There's no penalty for losing. So yeah. Alright, so 0, 0. Let's try that. No, not quite. Here we are. So, like I said, this would probably be very much easier if you knew binary, but even then, you try to puzzle things out. There's literally no reason to try to figure out what goes where. All you have to do is some basic problem solving, and it's literally that easy. Just to flip a switch, press it again, and if it doesn't work, try it again. Computer's still not working though, so we need to repair the third circuit. This one is, well, you'll see. Instead of having to do a value puzzle, we have to physically repair the circuit board. But they give you the main clue right there is that all you have to do is watch the lines on the actual circuit board itself to figure out what goes where. Of course, it's also just as easy as with the last puzzle that we did to watch the border, and if the border doesn't line up, then it obviously doesn't even go anywhere remotely close to where you're trying to put it. So you have to put it somewhere else. Once you have the border in place, I believe it's the top and the left sides that have the border on them. You can look for other parts that are, you know, very obviously standing out. You don't have a border on, you don't have as big a border on the other sides, but there is still a border. You can kind of see there's like a gray edge there. Again, that makes it ridiculously easy to cheese this puzzle, because then you can get the major landmarks in place, and that'll kind of allows you to, let me see here. No, that was right. Where's the other edge piece? Here. Okay, hang on. Try like this. There we go. Okay, and then there's also a bottom edge as well, but it's really faint and hard to see, so you might be better off just kind of playing with the pieces and trying to figure out what goes where. But again, it's not difficult, it's just tedious. There we go. So now we have most of this area complete. We just have to get this area right here done. You just look at the lines and figure out what goes where, judging by the relative positions, and it's not that hard. There, circuit repaired. And that's a part of the museum's main computer that we just fixed, but yeah, it thanks us, and we can go back to the main hall because we're done here. There's literally just one part. This isn't technically an exhibit, it's more like the actual workings of the museum. I don't know why you can reach it from the main hall and it's not like somewhere underneath the museum or something like that, but you know, whatever. It's the closest we get to actually fixing the source of the problem, i.e. the museum's main computer systems, until very late in the game. So, let me see. We're just going to keep going down the line here. Instead of skipping over here to astrology, we're just going to keep going with science. We're going to go to the discovery of radio. We're going to need some batteries, so we're just going to take them right out of Mick and use it that way. But it doesn't hurt Mick at all. He still gets power and everything. This is actually a preview of what the history exhibits are going to be like, where we have to talk to people, or Sci-Reps, as the game calls them, and actually figure out what's going on in an area before we can, speak to each of the 4 inventors first. So let's talk to this guy. Form of energy that can move through the air without wires. So he needs a book by a scientist named Maxwell in order to complete his experiment. We'll have to find that for him later. Now, which scientist is this? I forget. Heinrich Hertz. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the next area. Let's talk to all of the inventors before we do anything else. And oh my, he looks very out of it. Mick, what's going on in here? Okay, so this is his hint for the overall problems with the exhibit. So the 4 inventors each have an invention that all have to work together to allow the radio to exist. Each one takes place in a different period of time, going from left to right from oldest experiment to the latest. But unfortunately, the virus is scrambled with their circuits, so you're going to have to fix them before they can go to... they can get things done. So this exhibit, there's a power surge in this room. The Marconi Cyrep circuits were overloaded and lost consciousness. Revived with some form of illumination. I'm not exactly sure why that works, but literally all we have to do to make him work is to shine a flashlight into his face. See? So he was trying to invent a wireless telegraph, but the transmitter was destroyed in a power surge. And now we have to find him some parts that will allow him to repair his machine. You notice that we have 2 new items in our inventory that didn't have before. The batteries that we took from Mick and a portable radio. The radio is only here so we can finish this puzzle. Without it, the puzzle's impossible, but you always get it. So I don't know why he didn't have it before. It's not that hard to just give him a radio. So let's talk to, let me see, who's this? Alexander Graham Bell. What's he doing in here? An exhibit about radio. The Bell Cyrep should be in another exhibit. So, Mick's a little confused because he thinks that Bell's invention of the telephone doesn't have anything to do with radio, which he is technically correct, but not completely correct. So, let's talk to Bell and see what he needs. He can transmit clicks, but not voices. So he thinks he has an invention that works, but he needs a magnet. And we're going to have to get him that magnet later. Let's keep going. I'll talk to this gentleman here. Seems very content to sit in his chair there. This is, let me see. Fessenden. Reginald Fessenden. Canadian immigrant. He's the first to send voices through radio waves. See what he needs. Trying to assemble a device that will send voices over the airwaves. Needs a transmitter, but his is damaged beyond repair. And something that converts voices to electric signals, but he's not sure what the device is. Now, this is what you need the portable radio for. He won't let you do anything in this room until you give him the portable radio. It intrigues him, but it's too small for him to actually use for his experiments. He's going to examine it, and in turn, he will let us borrow one of the 3 books he has here on his shelf. So let's go ahead and grab the red book here. Aha! Maxwell, Electromagnetic Radiation. This is exactly the book that we need. You recall that the first scientist that we talked to, Hertz, needed the book by Maxwell. He'd heard about it, but he hadn't read it. So we're going to have to travel all the way back to the left side of the exhibit, but there's actually a quicker way to do that. You just double-click when the arrow shows up, and you'll automatically basically fast travel from one exhibit to the next. And that'll allow you to skip large sections of this area and travel from each part of the exhibit to each part of the exhibit very quickly. So we can go ahead and give Maxwell's book to Hertz here. It says that this is the book he was been waiting for. We can just take the book back, and now we can look at his machine here on the table. The machine has been damaged by the power surge, just like all the other machines in this area, but we can fix it. And yes, more puzzles. It's a lot of them in this game. I warned you guys before we even started this that there will be a lot of puzzles. Okay, let me see. Okay, so the yellow border is a fairly good line to start assemblage with. You just put the border together and then start going from there. No, here. Now these are in the wrong place. There we go. Okay. Move these guys over here. Move this one here. There we are. Simple enough. Well, I say simple enough, and it took me that long, but, you know, whatever. Okay, and now this is where the tricky part of this comes in. I am trying to remember exactly what you have to... Oh yeah, I remember. This is what you need the batteries for. You take the batteries out and you put them in his machine, I believe. Somewhere, right? Oh no, you give them to him. They provide him with the electric current that he needs to start his machine up. And then that completes his experiment and allows you to take this. The transmitter. It's a very simple transmitter that all we have to do is take it over here to Marconi. Marconi also has an invention that's been mangled. But again, if we have to do two things here. We have to reassemble his invention and then give him the part that he needs to complete it. When I was originally replaying this game, this exhibit took me a very long time to finish because I didn't realize that you had to give the batteries to Hertz to be able to get to the next area. I knew that you needed the batteries for something, but I couldn't figure out what. It just took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. But, yeah. So you can fix that. Then we give the transmitter to Marconi. Uses it to send a message in Morse code, or receive a message in Morse code, I'm not sure which. All we have to do is click on this chart that he has here that has all of the Morse code symbols written out on it. And that causes him to decipher the code. There will be a magnet in the drawer of the workbench. Take the magnet. He wonders if there's a future for this device. We can take the transmitter back now. We can also go over here to the desk and take the magnet. I believe we got the magnet down. Do we? Yes, we do. So we need the transmitter and the magnet, I believe, for the next part. We can also look at the actual telegraph machine that he has assembled, but it's not broken up, so we don't need to actually fix it. We can go ahead and head to the next area. Now, I believe Graham Bell's invention is also broken. Yes, it is. So we have to reassemble the telephone. There we go. So this one is also fairly easy, considering there's a black border right across the top that makes it pretty simple to be able to figure out where stuff goes, provided you aren't, you know, colorblind or whatever. No, that's not right here. Okay. This is not going as quite as planned, but we'll make do. Okay. There we are. And those two. There we go. See what I mean? This game takes puzzle game very literally. It's easy to be educational when literally all the puzzles in your game are literal, actual puzzles. Do we need to take the... Here. Hello, 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 hello. And now we can take the third part here, the microphone from Graham Bell, and move on. Now we can give this man, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, give him back his book, just because we're a nice person like that, and we can also give him the microphone and the transmitter. That cooks up a, let me see, a primitive radio that we can take. Not that it'll do us any good. The boy wonders about rock and roll stations, and we are taken back to the main hall because we have finished, because the radio has been successfully invented. Yay! And that is all for today's episode of Museum Madness. I will see you guys next time. Later, folks.